and we are presenting on expanding your mind through traveling. So I just have a couple questions. I don't want you to answer them. Just kind of ponder about them. How many of you have traveled before? How many of you have traveled young? What did you learn? Anything? So back in 2008, I traveled to Sydney, Australia with a group of students in my high school and about 6 or 7 professors, priests, and we were there for about 2 weeks. Now, on the second to last day, we were supposed to go to the Sydney Opera House. When I say supposed to, is because we got terribly lost. And when I say lost, I mean at the edge of the cliff lost. So we all got off the bus as our bus driver was just kind of figuring out with our head leader on how we needed to get to the Sydney Opera House. And as you can see, we found this little path. Now, only half of us wanted to go explore the path, well, because there's nothing else better to do. Half of us wanted to kind of play it safe and just stay with the bus because they didn't want the risk of getting lost. So 2 chaperones took about maybe 5 or 6 of us down this path. Now this path, we had no idea where it led because as soon as you get on the other side here, you're completely in shadows. There's boulders. Okay. There's more trees. There was a couple waterfalls. And at the very edge of the path, when we finally got there, or where the end was, we discovered probably the most beautiful sight I have ever laid my eyes on. Now, mind you, there are no railings, nothing. So this is all kind of standing back on the edge of a cliff. Here's another picture. And that's the Pacific Ocean. So now, another question. How many of you would have gone down that path and explored? And would you have gone before or after we discovered the hidden treasure?
I would have been one of those people. This past summer, I traveled to Riviera Maya, which is a city in Mexico, and as you can see, it was pretty awesome. The beach was absolutely beautiful. My hotel was beautiful. The staff couldn't accommodate you any more than they already did. All the drinks were free, which is really nice. And judging by these faces, you would probably think that I had a really awesome time and this was like the best vacation. This was definitely the worst vacation I've ever been on, to put it mildly. But while I was there, I really did learn a lot about myself and what I'm capable of handling. One, I can adapt to a completely different environment, which I never thought I could do. I'm an extremely stubborn, stuck in my ways person. I'm very sarcastic, but I really did adapt to this. I also got a little taste of my own medicine. I got to be the foreigner in the country for once, and everybody was like, "What language are you speaking? Excuse me, we don't know what you're saying." And I was ignored quite a bit, actually, probably because I was trying so abrasively to push my language onto them. So, I mean, I got it back to me. You give what you get, right? So what I basically want to talk to you guys about is stepping out of your comfort zone is not something that's easy. I'm actually doing it right now, and it still sucks. But I did it in Mexico, and it was definitely worse. But if I can give you guys any advice, I would say just go with it. Because although I didn't have an amazing time in Mexico, I really did learn a lot. I gained a lot of knowledge about the people there, about myself, about a completely different culture. So even if you don't have this amazing experience that you really want to talk to about with all of your friends, you will have some kind of knowledge, I promise you. And with that, I want to encourage all of you to really go out and travel. And to do it now, I mean, I know we have jobs, but it's not that 9 to 5. Nobody really depends on you financially, at least I hope not, because we're all fairly young. And we don't have the endless bills yet that are really going to get in the way. Like, we have some, but not really enough to impact where we can go over the summers or where we can really spend a good amount of time. One of the greatest things I learned about traveling, especially in Mexico, was to appreciate my home and where I came from and my roots. And I really think that needs to be learned sooner rather than later. That was like a really good wake-up call, especially for someone like me. I was definitely put in my place. So with that said, I'm not telling you guys that this is the only time you're going to travel on, but I'm going to tell you to do it now because you're never going to have more opportune time than you do right now.
Okay, so last summer I went to Italy with my mom. We stayed in Rome, but we took a day trip over to Naples and we visited Pompeii. So we walked up and down the roads and we went to like the markets and the houses and like the little villas and like at least what's left. And everywhere you could go, you could like see Mount Vesuvius right there. So that was pretty cool. But the roads were really rough on my feet and my ankles were really swollen. So I was feeling pretty miserable after walking for a couple hours. So I found myself in the back of the group with an old couple named Beth and Stan. So Beth helped her husband Stan walk up and down the cobble roads because he had 2 canes. So they ended up telling me their story about what brought them to Italy, and Stan was diagnosed with MS 15 years ago and was recently, and he spent the last 9 years in a wheelchair and was recently able to walk again. So him and his wife took the first plane to a place they'd never been to before. And Stan was telling me that, you shouldn't waste any time because, well, what I basically took from it was that you don't plan for things to happen. And, well, he never planned to have, like, MS, like, that horrible disease. But he, like, didn't want to take his legs for granted again. So he's just, like, go out there and explore.